Right now, we're going to be joined by the state rep from the 108th District as, it deals with New Fairfield and Danbury and more. Busy guy, Patrick Callahan. How you doing, Patrick?
Good morning, Bart. Good to hear you.
Well, it's good to hear you as well, especially since in this month of July you got to trumpet some good news down the road for the world of Squan's Pond. Explain to me so that I can enjoy it even more.
We put out some press on it, and I think it's a good thing because over the past many years, and anyone who's driven up Route 39 on a warm summer weekend, and even into the fall, will see like the traffic and safety issues that the Squan's Pond State Park has caused. Actually, this past Saturday, I went up to talk to park staff, and the traffic was backed up over a mile of people trying to get into the park. And once it fills up, you have to disperse all those cars somewhere. And what happens is they're going into neighborhoods or parking wherever they can, and then walking on Route 39, which is a road, as most of your listeners know, has no shoulder, no sidewalks, and poor visibility. And it's also a road where traffic travels at about 50 miles an hour. So in speaking, talking to town leaders, the law enforcement, park staff, and DEEP, they said we really need to stop walk-ins to stop this danger on the roads, and then also from overcrowding for park staff, for drownings, and to keep safety there. So, working with Senator Harding and Senator Kushner, we got this through a public hearing, and luckily, after all these years, it passed, and the governor signed it, and will go into effect next year.
Well, it's a good thing because I can tell you that from having spent a goodly amount of time in New Fairfield, having to leave on a Friday to get somewhere 10 miles away on a Sunday, it was not a good thing. So finally, someone broke the barrier and got through, and we have some intelligence being applied to this. I like that.
Well, I hope some of that intelligence is being assigned to me, Bart.
Yes. Yes. Well, no, that's what I'm saying. You break through and make it happen. It's a good thing.
DEEP has done a decent job. They have a lot of people come from out of state, so they've done radio. They do radio spots in New York. They use Twitter. They use social media to tell people that, hey, the park is closed. And so there's a lot of ways that DEEP was notifying the potential visitors to Squan's that, hey, it's closed, go on to the next place. But they weren't heeding those warnings. So now, we worked closely with DEEP. I talked to them last summer. They said, well, you're going to need to get legislation passed. That's the only way to do this. So luckily, the Danbury delegation, Republican, Democrat, it doesn't matter. We work well together, and we work together to get this through. We're glad it got through, and as well as some of the other legislation, we were able to work together to get through.
Yeah, looking out for kids is another thing that I like, Patrick, and creating the crime of harmful communications with a minor. This is, to me, that's huge.
It is, Bart, and I used to work right down the street from you for many years, and I worked down the street at the courthouse, and I ran the probation department for that part of the state and supervised sex offender units for many years. And what frustrated us is when there was loopholes that allowed potentially dangerous individuals to create more victims. So, in sitting down and working with, again, Democrat Mary Wielander, who she and I collaborated together to get this legislation written last year. And what it does is, if an adult, 25-year-old, is contacting a minor, all these video games and online computer games kids are playing, there's usually a chat feature.
Yep.
If your listeners have kids at home, you'll probably see them playing video games with headphones on or seeing messages pop up on the side. And this is to prevent adults from using these forums, even online coloring forums, from contacting children, establishing a verbal relationship or a written word. A lot of kids don't have high self-esteem and confidence, And the tactic these people use was to go on and start, complimenting them. Oh, send me a picture. You're so beautiful. Then they turn that conversation into a sexual nature. And before, it was not a crime until below the equator pictures were exchanged. We're saying with this law that language they use to groom that minor online is now illegal, and it just raises the bar. So in this particular tactic was being used to set kids up to meet. Now you've had that communication with the minor, and maybe you've turned that conversation sexual. Then you use that to blackmail the kid, meet me or else. So this turns into sex trafficking. It turned into kidnapping. So it's just another tool to stop these things from happening.
Yeah, and sticking with in a legal vein here, there's something coming down the pike with the bond system, or is it already enacted?
Well, that is a real. I have a real problem with what happened. Years ago, the Judiciary Committee, and I've served on the Judiciary Committee since I've gotten up to Hartford, and the members of the Judiciary Committee used to push for no judicial rule changes unless they come through the Judiciary Committee, and both sides get a chance to take a look at it, and more importantly, Bart, that the public gets a chance to comment in public hearings. So what happened this year that was done via the Judicial Rules Committee, and they changed the practice book. If someone gets arrested and gets the court puts, say, $10,000 bond on them, they can get a bondsman and put down a small percentage of that, and then pay that bondsman just a 10% or lower percentage to be released. Now that bondsman, if you don't show up to court, has the responsibility in 180 days to produce you or the money. So what happened in the practice book and what the judicial did a few years ago is they made it so you could post that a percentage, 10% of that bond in court, and if you fail to appear, no one's looking for you, and no one's collecting the money. So it's not a parallel system, and it just gives the offender more chances to take off, say, to another state like Florida or Texas, where most likely they're not going to be extradited for a crime, and that failure to appear is only in what's called the prawn system in Connecticut. So if a police officer in Connecticut stops you, it'll pop up that you have a failure to appear. It very well might not if you're stopped in another state, if that wasn't entered as an extraditable offense.
So I'm really trying to understand why anybody would buy into that. It's just, well, for want of a better term, it's so wrong.
It seems like it's another step towards what's happening in states like New York with a no bail system. So they did the Judiciary Rules Committee, or not Judiciary, the Judicial Court. They changed the rules again to up that amount that can be posted in court, and yet lower the percentage that has to be posted. I have yet to get the answer is if people are not appearing in court, who's collecting the money, how much has been collected, and how many of these people have been apprehended. Because if you're telling the bondsman they have to produce the money or the body, but the court doesn't have to do any of that, that doesn't seem like a fair system, and it seems like a massive loophole to allow people to not appear in court and nothing to ever happen to them. If you have an offense like a burglary 3 and there's a $5,000 bond, I can post less than 10% of that and take off. That's cheaper than hiring an attorney and showing up in court, and most likely no one's ever going to go get you. So I just didn't like, if that's a change that the courts wanted to make, that should have been presented to the Judiciary Committee. And being a member, I sent testimony in and opposed this, as well as our minority leader, Vin Candelora, did so as well, really adamantly being opposed, and our opposition was ignored.
From the economic standpoint, it's the big circle. Now, you're, in effect, eliminating or reducing a viable business. Okay, the bail bondsman,
You're right.
bondsman. You're in effect slapping that business backwards. And to me, why would you want to hurt upstanding citizens who contribute to the economy and pay taxes.
Well, and that's a really good point. And I think it's, to me, it's an underhanded effort to get rid of them when you've got a group of people that have been abiding by the rules that you set and that the Insurance Commission in Connecticut monitors, and they've been doing what you said, and now you're going to open up a whole new avenue for people to post bond and cut me off at the knees for doing the job that I was told to do and abiding by the rules. That doesn't seem fair to me. And of course, the bail bondsmen are upset. And you have your bad apples in any profession, and there are some bad apples in that profession. But there are a lot of really good actors, and they don't have a lot of recourse.
Before we run away, Patrick, another piece of real darn serious business, and boy, did this tick me off when I was hearing about at the vets that catalytic converters were being taken from cars, being parked at the at the VFWs and things like that. Come on, and so these thefts have just absolutely flabbergasted me, and it's not that law enforcement doesn't want to go after and find these people. It's that there has been this proliferation, and so how do we deal with this, Patrick?
Right, and so what we did, Bart, it is a serious problem. I was over at Barbie's at the mall and that outdoor patio last year, and at a retirement party, broad daylight, I watched a carload of teens pull up, second car in from the front door, and start jacking it up with masks on and catalytic converters or sawzalls to cut it out, right in broad daylight. So it's happening all over. So what we did in the legislature is we passed a law last year. So if you show up to a scrapyard with a truckload of catalytic converters, you have to present the driver's license, and they'll mail you the check. Now that really, the criminals didn't like that kind of accountability, and they have some ingenuity. So what they did is now you're getting a clearinghouse. Some larger scale criminal will get a box truck and pay you cash at a lower rate for all these catalytic converters. Then he drives to Rhode Island or Massachusetts or somewhere else and sells them without that accountability. So we're working with the governor's office and Public Safety Committee and Judiciary Committee to do a regional approach. So anywhere in New England, the New England states, that you're going to have to abide by the same sort of rules to curtail this catalytic converter theft. Oh,
it just has to happen. It's just so ridiculous, and the brazen way it's being done. And a lot of the places that are being targeted, it's just absolutely disgraceful. Look, any crime is disgraceful, but the fact that this one has been able to grow shows that we need more teeth put into how we're going to, if we can possibly catch these people, put more teeth into, this is what you did, well, here's what's going to happen to you, buddy. And so,
well, that's what's lacking, my friend. We keep trying to put in juvenile justice reforms that do not make it through because these kids, and I say kids because it's now, if they're going to juvenile court, it's up to the age 18. They're going to juvenile court and nothing happens. So if they're out on some sort of recognizance or court bond from juvenile, that and they're still out there doing that, for repeated offenses, there has to be an escalating level of punishment. But we're having trouble getting that through, and we're going to continue to work on that. But for now, the new laws that we're trying to get into place for the regional accountability on catalytic converter sales hopefully will help.
Well, Patrick, I appreciate you spending some time with us today. I know you and your colleagues have been hard at work. Enjoy a little breathing time because the next sessions will be here before you know it. But thank you for all you do, and I appreciate it, sir.
Thank you, my old friend. It's good talking to you.